Hi, my name is Vincent Stevens, and I'm the director of the Popo Shaw Center, and I'm also the coordinator of the Bias Education and Response team, otherwise known as BERT. And I'm going to allow members of BERT to introduce themselves, and then we're going to explain our bias education and response protocols at Dickinson.
Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Bickford. I direct the Women's and Gender Resource Center, and I teach in Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies, and I'm one of the BERT members.
Hi, I'm Kim Macemore. I'm the head women's lacrosse coach and senior woman administrator in athletics, and I'm also a BERT team member.
Hi, I'm Maria Bruno. I'm an associate professor of anthropology and archaeology and a faculty representative on BERT.
Great. So I'm going to share my screen so everyone can look at the presentation that we've prepared. So there are 5 topics that I'll cover today. What is BERT? What is the difference between bias incidents and hate crimes? How do I report bias incidents and who responds to them? What is the impact of BERT, and how does BERT enrich campus education? So I'll start off by explaining what BERT is. So throughout the campus, you'll see posters that basically give you a general overview of BERT as a resource for the campus. So in general, the Bias Education and Response team represents a cross-section of the Dickinson community, including faculty, staff, administrators, and students who support anti-bias education. BERT is a non-sanctioning body that responds to bias incidents in a proactive manner, emphasizing educational resolutions.
So just a bit of a background on BERT. It was established, the Bias Response Team was established in 2012. And then a few years later, it was renamed to include Bias Education and Response Team. Most U.S. liberal arts colleges have a response team report incidents of bias. But generally, bias is underreported on college campuses for a variety of reasons. Potentially uncertainty around what to report. Students may fear some sort of retaliation from the perpetrators. Or they may just feel like their own experience might be minimized, and campus officials will not take the incident seriously. So, what is the difference between bias incidents and hate crimes?
In Pennsylvania, a hate crime is defined as a criminal act motivated by ill will or hatred towards a victim's race, color, religion, or national origin. In Pennsylvania, hate crimes are termed ethnic intimidation, and the defense is set forth in the criminal codes. And you can see that we've included a list of examples of what a hate crime might constitute, or what might constitute a hate crime: in-person or electronic harassment, physical assault, destruction of property, criminal trespass, arson or firebombing, or terrorist threats. Dickinson's definition is discriminatory behavior or expression based on race, sex, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, national origin, ethnicity, disability, military status, or other legally protected characteristics. And again, we've included a list of examples, which is not exhaustive, but it might include stereotyping, offensive graffiti, using insulting language, excluding others based on social identity, etc.
So something to remember is that, there's a difference between a bias incident as defined at Dickinson and a hate crime, which is an actual crime defined by the state. Because BERT is a non-sanctioning body, it means that sometimes there may be incidents that should be referred to student conduct. So I wanted to point out that conduct that has the purpose or effect of creating a hostile environment or which deprives another person of the ability to fully participate in the programs or opportunities of the college based on that person's identity is a violation of the college's community standards. So in that instance, that particular incident would actually be referred to student conduct. This happens rarely, but it does happen on occasion. But as we noted at the beginning, most of our responses focus really on peaceful conflict resolution. So in terms of our overall response strategy, what we try to do is make sure that we provide a clear definition of bias both on our website and on the campus posters. We try to make sure that those resources are visible, and we're really interested in the proactive aspect of campus education regarding social identity and experience and perspective. And basically, more than anything, we're really focused on providing resolutions that help people walk away from situations feeling whole, feeling heard, feeling supported, as well as accountable for their behavior. So the majority of incidents we received are actually resolved through informal conversation and mediation. So our next section will look at how do I report a bias incident and who responds, and Kim Mace-Moore is going to share that information with you.
Thanks, Vincent. So students can go online to report an incident through BERT's website. And it's just important that students include their name and also their Dickinson email address when reporting. So who responds to bias incidents? For student-to-student incidents, the BERT coordinator will contact the filer to follow up. The executive director of the Office of Equity and Inclusivity contacts the filer to follow up if it is a student and personnel issue. Incident resolutions are settled privately among BERT staff and the filers and respondents. Additionally, property-related bias can be reported through BERT. Gender-related bias incidents are also referred to Title IX.
Thanks, Kim. So you may ask yourself, what is the impact of BERT? So I wanted to provide an example, a recent example. So in the spring, when many different colleges and universities, as well as businesses, became remote or shut down, the COVID-19 virus ended up inspiring some anti-Asian bias and harassment. This was happening globally, nationally, and it also happened locally as well. So our response was to work together with the Department of Public Safety, the Dean of Students, and the Vice President of Institutional Effectiveness and Inclusivity to remind members of our community that some of the members of our community were very vulnerable to bias and harassment, also to just provide recommendations to help students safely navigate the surrounding campus area during the spring. We also shared a video through our social media where a faculty member talked about the impact of this harassment on the kinds of folks who have been affected and its overall impact on their mental and emotional health. We also shared different links for community members to gather more information to understand what is the root of some of these issues and what are some effective ways to respond. So BERT does its best to try to really support students and provide as many tools and resources so people in the community are aware of how to be sensitive to some of the needs of students and to respond appropriately. In terms of the actual number of incidents, this really varies from year to year. Over the last 5 years, we've received approximately 74 incident reports. So sometimes you may get multiple reports for a single incident. And by and large, most of the reports that we received relate to incidents that may have happened between students. Oftentimes, students aren't quite sure how to respond when someone says or does something that feels biased, so they often will then turn to the bias education and response team. Amongst the different identity categories, race and ethnicity seems to be the category where we receive the most reports. So that is definitely an area of growth, but there are definitely other categories as well. So we try to be as sensitive as possible in responding and providing appropriate resources for filers and making sure we open the door to get the full story from our filers and our respondents.
How does BERT contribute to campus education, you might be asking? BERT's highly involved in educating the campus community through offering workshops, public awareness information, and engagement activities, such as the Full Participation Photography Project in 2017, and that's the poster on the right side of your screen.
In 2018, BERT co-sponsored a presentation for faculty and staff to help them advise students about how to create thoughtful Halloween costumes. And you can see on the left side of your screen that we also co-sponsored a poster that helps students make decisions about what would be an appropriate Halloween costume. In 2019, BERT launched a More Than Words series in which we focused on the impact of language in creating a welcoming community. So it started with kind of a general conversation about when to use certain kinds of words and any questions and difficulties around that. And that led us into 2 more specific workshops, one around LGBTQ inclusive language and another about Indigenous American language.
BERT has also co-sponsored Inclusion Week every September since 2016 to increase awareness of diversity, equity, and inclusion resources. This fall, the week is a virtual event and will be scheduled for September 14th to 18th.
Finally, I wanted to share that the members of the BERT team represent a diverse spectrum of the community. So we have everything from an officer from public safety to some of the wonderful faculty and staff folks who've introduced themselves, as well as a student representative and additional personnel. So more than anything, our hope is that BERT can serve as a great resource for you in case you need to report an incident or in case you're looking for information related to how to be a good ally and how to be sensitive and aware to the different needs within our community. So together, we would like to thank you for taking the time to check out this video, and we hope that it answers any questions that you might have. So thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to meeting you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.